What better way to celebrate President's Day than digging in some history? Did you know that former President Woodrow Wilson grew up in Augusta from 1858 until 1870? Our Anthony Carpino is at the house where he grew up, and there are some special tours being offered today. Good morning, Anthony.
Well, good morning, Cliff. Good morning, Zena. Yeah, we're inside here at downtown Augusta, the former president's home. I have Miss Stephanie with me this morning.
Hello.
Stephanie, thanks so much for joining us. Let's give the folks some background information on all the rich history that's in this house.
Oh, certainly. Well, of course, today being President's Day, we invite guests to come out and tour the boyhood home of President Woodrow Wilson. He actually lived in this house longer than he lived anywhere else his entire life. The Wilsons moved to Augusta in 1858. They left here in 1870. So we can say our 28th president's formative years were all spent right here in this home.
And we were talking earlier to his best friend that lived right next door, also a very important person in American history. You talk about him a little bit too.
Yes, that was Joseph Lamar, Woodrow Wilson's best friend. The two boys played on the same baseball team, they went to the same school, and they shared the fact they were both sons of ministers. Woodrow Wilson, of course, became our 28th president. Joe Lamar became a United States Supreme Court justice.
That's pretty cool. President and a justice growing up right next to each other and being best friends. Very cool stuff for sure.
But the interesting thing is, Lamar was not appointed by Woodrow Wilson, but rather another president who visited Augusta, President William Howard Taft, appointed Lamar to the Supreme Court.
Very cool. Let's talk about the house a little bit too. Right now we're standing in the parlor. Can you talk about this room, and we'll go through some of the other rooms as well.
Well, the parlor is where the Wilsons would have entertained their guests. Woodrow Wilson's father, the Reverend Joseph Wilson, was minister of Augusta's First Presbyterian Church. That's actually what brought the Wilsons here to Augusta. So, of course, the Wilsons would have been frequently entertaining church members right here in the parlor. The slip covers were usually made by the lady of the house to protect her furniture from the dust from the road. The windows were open in here most of the time, particularly in the hot summer months. We are quite honored to have some pieces in this house that are original. They were used by the Wilsons. They're on loan to us from the congregation of the First Presbyterian Church.
Very cool. One of the things that I kind of noticed when you first walk into the door is the floors. They're not your hardwood floors. There's actually something on top of that. Can you talk about that a little bit too?
Well, in the entrance hall, it's oilcloth. It is laid over your hardwood floors to protect them from the mud, the manure on the bottom of people's feet because of an unpaved street.
I was going to say, they weren't all paved back then.
Right, but the hardwood floors in here are all original to the house.
Very cool. Let's talk about his bedroom a little bit too. I know that was something that was pretty important for you, what we have up there to kind of see. Can you talk about that a little bit for us?
Yes, well, Tommy Wilson, as Woodrow Wilson was nicknamed as a child, was 3 when they moved into this house. He was the baby and only boy at that time, so he went many years here having the room all to himself. But by the time he was almost 11 years old, he had a baby brother who eventually came over to share the room with Tommy. In the room, you will see a small desk next to the window. On the desk are some drawings that remain from when Woodrow Wilson was here as a boy. Most of them involve his Lightfoot Baseball Club. He organized that when he was about 13 years old. It was his first taste at leadership. Included in one of the lineups, Tommy is second base. Joe and Philip Lamar right next door are on the lineup as well.
That's so cool to see. For folks that want to come out today and get a tour, where can they go to find some information, and what are the times and all that kind of stuff?
Well, our visitors center is to the right of the Wilson house. It's actually in Joe Lamar's boyhood home. That's where the tours begin. They are all starting at the top of the hour. The first one is at 10 a.m. The last one for the day will be at 4 p.m. And for honoring Woodrow Wilson on President's Day, all tours are buy one, get one free.
Okay, awesome. Miss Stephanie, thanks so much for joining
Thank
us
you
this
so
morning.
much. I
Really
enjoyed
appreciate your
it.
time, and we love seeing all the rich history that's in this house. Very incredible stuff. Guys, if you haven't been out here before, like you said, like Stephanie said, they start at 10 and will go all the way through the afternoon, so make sure to get out here and check it out. Guys, we'll send things back over to you in the studio.